Hello, friends and family and anybody that's watching. Anyway, happy to check back in. It's been a while since I've made a video. A lot of stuff happening. This is a magnificent day today. I am in Europe as usual, and I returned from Portugal a few days back, and now I'm in Lugano in Switzerland. It's a magnificent blue sky, not a cloud, anywhere, and quite warm. It seems around 18 degrees, which is something like, what is that? I don't know, 65 maybe? Something like, a little bit like that. The last video I did was in Florence, I think, or no, Lisbon. It was Lisbon. And I'm happy to be traveling again. There are a lot of tests and things like that you still have to do to cross the various frontiers, but for the most part, totally easy. COVID has died down. I see the numbers in America are, still very sad. A lot of deaths. Here it's kind of peaked, and it seems to be not the first thing on anyone's mind. Which is a very different, I'm not making any political statements or anything, I'm just saying here, it's not that it's being ignored, but I suppose there's not a lot of fear in the forefront of everyone's mind. It's not the main thing driving lives. Today, we still have mask stuff indoors, but not outside, and public transport, okay. And I think plenty of people are boosted or whatever, and plenty of people are also not vaccinated and have had it once or twice. So at least over here now, you're kind of credited on your pass, on your green pass in Italy or COVID certificate here. I think it's now, if I'm not mistaken, you are credited with either one vaccination or one time to have been recovered. So if people have had 2 recoveries, it's more or less the same as 2 or 3 vaccinations, which is a long way from the 2 years of this. Anyway, my video today is about a couple of comments that people have made and the reflections I've had, especially recently. Excuse me. I just had an ice cream cone. Bad boy. So, and I just had lunch with my son, and we talked about this a little bit. So I think it was 2017 when I first officially left California for Wyoming first, and then for Europe. And leaving everything that you have, everything that's familiar to you, not only family, but familiar, like your favorite, like the spot in Carpinteria, the great burger and tacos and burritos, and Superica on Milpas, and all of the other great food places I miss, and of course all my friends and family. It's a strange feeling leaving all of that behind and loading your history or your ancestors or your memories in a suitcase and moving so far away. In hindsight, it didn't feel traumatic at the time, I suppose, which is so, everything is so new and the adrenaline is pumping and so on. But now 4 years after, it's an interesting point of view, I guess. And for me, so much deconstruction has happened. I guess that's the right word. And actually, and a couple of people wrote me really kindly, really incredibly mindfully and kindly and graciously with their words. saying that somehow, I guess also because of my maturity, because of my age, I'm maybe a different outlook than the young people flogging graphics and all kinds of stuff and holding the camera right and all. Other things are more important to me at this stage in my life. So my point was, it was traumatic, I guess, in some strange way, thinking that the earth moved when you filled up the suitcases and got on the plane. But something happens over time, and specifically now over these many years. My son finished his university, so you have this milestone, at least for me, of those 4 years. And, you know, I built another life, and it's additive. My son and I, we echoed it specifically today. He and I both have the same friends we had as before we left from Santa Barbara and California and Colombia too. And we have those friends, but now we have an abundance of other friends in completely different cultures and completely always inviting us to stay, and kindness and grace. And so, in a way, we ceased being who we were, and we expanded being new. It's a very strange, perhaps, thing to hear, but you think very often Americans never leave their town. I still have friends where I went to high school, and they still live there, and they seem very happy, and that's wonderful. And I guess that's a big part of the American culture too. Your center of everything being perhaps the home of your parents or your grandparents. But something really, really changes when you leave that behind, and maybe it's the hard parts that we have to go through that somehow bring us out the other side in a way that's greater than the sums, you know? I don't know if I'm saying that right, but you get the drift. And there's something about Europe specifically, because so many cultures are next to each other. And yeah, there's mixing and melting pot a bit, but nothing like the US. I mean, here you have really rigid rules, for example, on immigration, and but you just cross. I mean, within 2 hours, by flight, or 2.5 hours, I'm in Lisbon, and everything is different. The coffee is different, the food is different, the people look different. Of course, the language is different. 2 hours, I'm back in Malpensa, and and Milan and all that it has to offer, and then another hour, and I'm back here in Lugano. And in March, I'm going to Croatia to Split to see my friends there. That's a couple hours. So when you think of systems, cultures, food, language, and the age of it all, I guess, somehow you gain great comfort. It's a funny word for it. Comfort from this kind of diverse knowledge. Yeah, I guess that's it. And so it was scary, I guess, to the comment that I got yesterday, and I'm going to pursue a little bit further. Being frightened, and frightened might not be the right word, but being it's a daunting thing to basically pack your dreams and your history, the marks on the wall where your child grew, or your parents grew, it's daunting to walk away from that. But in the end, you kind of think you carry it with you. It's like love that never goes away. And in fact, those were my son's words. Well, we both shared that today. Love never really goes away. In a way, like friends that you carry with you, or ancestors that have gone that you still carry with you. I mean, I still feel my father or my mother near me or walking with me. It's a funny feeling that transcends everything. Um, yeah. So life goes on as it did before, in the fact that it continues, right? Uh, you adapt to new medical systems. I had a scare when if I looked a little bit depressed or anything on my last videos, it was because I had kind of a scare about my eyesight. But now, after wonderful Portuguese specialists and lots of tests, and the grand total of my out of pocket was 19 bucks. Try that. Um, I feel just fine, and I think my eyesight's going to be all right. Um, my son is now moving also to Portugal, which is a big deal for us. And we're involved in an amazing business that is helping a company to open really amazing bicycle shops, e-bikes. E-bikes are super popular here, super regulated, nothing like my American friends would have really seen. These are not really Chinese bikes with throttles. These are like German built, serious European, super high quality. More like you buy one of these and you don't need a car. So, and over here, that's the great way to go. Great way to go. So anyway, this new business we have, it's coming along really wonderfully, and we are going to open extensions of that business in Portugal and Spain and in Southern Europe. So now my son is on his way in that direction and continuing with an MBA, actually, beginning in the fall. So empty nest, great health care, all the kind of things that happen in life, they just keep happening. It's just augmented by all these other cultures, by more friends than in terms of quantity, I suppose, as before, because it's additive. And I have to say, I don't see myself returning, aside from the familiarity, but once you've removed the stress and the kind of expectations from within yourself, maybe that's right. Somehow, the false limitations that we used to surround ourselves with, that would keep us comfortable, but comfortable in stress, which is bizarre, right? With the absence of so many of those, and the addition to all of the color from other cultures, I don't actually, I became it. Maybe, is that the right way to say it? I just transformed, I guess, and I look forward to, for example, and years ago when I worked with Ducati and with other other Italian businesses, I understand that in the Italian culture, in many companies where a group of people work for a long time, very often there will be a dining table, more or less at the factory, or in the case of Ducati, it's a cafeteria. In the case of small companies, it's a kitchen area. And when I go to visit, and I'm learning really right now, when I go to visit my friends at the bike shop, around 12:31, 1:30, basically you'll bring what you brought from home or make pasta there, or and you sit at a table and kind of like the family table, you'll talk about politics or whatever is going on, and or about life, kind of. So my message is there's so many gifts in other cultures, and in many ways they speak to my own southern upbringing. Of my The blood of my family is from the southern parts of the United States, and poorer status. A wonderful joy is eating with people that you care about, and it becomes woven into the day. Um, Not like I go to work and leave work and go to someplace and come back. It's different. It's woven tightly. And that's part of this sense of community that I have found here. And aside from my few friends and family in the US, I was always longing for that. I grew up in a cul-de-sac house, and in I was always longing for a main street and an area where people knew you and you could easily go. Now I'm back in Lugano, I go to the cafe across the street, and they know my name, and I actually don't have to say anything, and they bring me what my brioche and a cappuccio and spumante and orange juice, and basically, yeah. So don't be afraid. I've said this many times, and or it is daunting. It is worth it. It is worth it. And for business, if you're an entrepreneur, I'm finding many more opportunities here than I even have ever seen in my wild entrepreneurial life in the United States. It's it's funny. You still remain who you are. You're still an American, and but the relentless pursuit of capital, um, at the expense of the lunch table or dining table, or friends. Um, anyway, I'm happy here. So I hope this helps a little bit in some small way. Um, I guess the main message is it's worth it. It's worth the upheaval, and that's kind of a negative word, but through that process, you find what fits you, and maybe in my case, what I needed, or really a strong sense of community wherever you are. And I certainly have found that, boatloads of that in Portugal, and in the other places I visit for work. Yeah, and Portugal's still the best to me, still the best place for ease of immigration and for acceptance, I guess is the word. Um, yeah. All right. Take care, everybody. See you later.